Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be going over a thunderstorm event which is going to be taking place over parts of the eastern United States. We already have an enhanced risk of severe weather on their day 3 outlook for parts of Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Alabama, and Tennessee. And this is going to be also the first real thunderstorm event of the year for parts of the Ohio Valley and the Northeast. And some of these thunderstorms could head fairly far to the north. We're going to be covering all of that and more in today's video, so make sure you are staying tuned all the way until the end. So here's what the current National Weather Service page looks like. It is actually quite active for this time of year. We have some winter weather advisories in effect for northern Wyoming and southern Montana, as well as some more winter weather advisories and actually some winter storm warnings in effect for northern New Mexico, some of the higher elevations in Arizona, and a little bit of southern Colorado. And we are dealing with potentially in these winter storm warning areas, especially for northeastern New Mexico, up to 18 to 24 inches of snowfall. So instead of Colorado getting hit this time, it looks like that's going to shift a little bit further to the south, and now parts of northeastern New Mexico, which haven't seen a lot of snow in a while, are now going to get hit with a little bit more snowfall. We have red flag warnings in effect for southwestern Texas, southwestern New Mexico, and southeastern Arizona, with some wind advisories up for much of California, Nevada, a little bit of Arizona as well as for some of these areas surrounding the Mississippi River, especially in the lower Mississippi River Valley. We also have flood watches in effect along the central Gulf Coast. That's for several inches of rainfall, which we're also going to be covering in today's video. Yesterday, your high temperature for the continental United States was in Falcon Lake, Texas, where they got to 93 degrees Fahrenheit, and the low temperature was in Peter Sinks, Utah, where they got to negative 23 degrees Fahrenheit. In Lake Quinault, Washington, they got 2.42 inches of rainfall. That was the highest rainfall report yesterday, and the highest snowfall report was 3 miles north of Bailey, Colorado, where they got 10.7 inches of snowfall that were reported yesterday. In many of these areas right over north central Colorado got upwards of 6 to 10 inches, maybe even a couple areas got a little bit more than that in some of those isolated areas. So here's what the current National Weather Service page is showing and what they're expecting. This is for their Day 2 outlook. The Day 1 outlook, it has a marginal risk over some of these areas along the Mississippi River, but it's not from the event that we're going to be talking about. It's from a different system. So I'm going to just fast forward to tomorrow, and we have for tomorrow, we have a marginal risk of severe weather that stretches into northeastern Texas, southeastern Oklahoma, and mainly centered over Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi, with a little area of slight risk over parts of Louisiana, Arkansas, and Mississippi, and that's where we have some of the elevated risks of severe weather, and that's for tomorrow. Here's for Day 3, which would be for Thursday, and we have a marginal risk of severe weather that goes all the way up into the Ohio Valley. We have a little bit of a circle of slight risk, which covers much of the central Gulf states and much of the southeastern United States in general, and then we even have that enhanced risk for a very similar area that was hit with that severe weather outbreak just about a week ago. That same area is dealing with an enhanced risk on their Day 3 outlook. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we even see that upgraded in a tiny area to a moderate risk. So already the severe weather season is off to a bang, and I wouldn't be surprised if when the Friday outlook comes out on their Day 4 outlook, that they might extend that general or even maybe that marginal risk up through parts of the Northeast as well, because that's the area that will probably be impacted on Friday the most with severe weather. Now, here's the excessive rainfall outlook, and you can see that we have a 5 to 10% chance, a marginal risk for today. In that green, 10 to 20% chance is a slight risk also for today over parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and a little bit of westernmost Florida. And if we look at the Day 3 outlook, you can see that we have a marginal risk also in effect all along the Tennessee Valley and then back through some of the central Gulf states, and then over a little area of central Tennessee and some of the surrounding areas, we have a slight risk of flash flooding and excessive rainfall. That would be for Thursday. So here's what the RGEM model is showing, and this is the regional Canadian model. Also, by the way, just a little update on what the GFS is doing and the providers of the GFS. Somebody commented on my video yesterday actually notifying me that they did upgrade the GFS from the what we used to have, which was the GFS parallel and then the standard GFS. That's now just the standard GFS. So the GFS parallel is now just the standard GFS. They've gotten rid of the old one, and I have to say I do like the new GFS a lot more. The old GFS parallel was doing very, very good, and now that's become the main GFS, and it's definitely a good thing because it has definitely been a big upgrade, and we'll see how it does interact with severe weather and winter storms as we head through time. It's basically only the second day of their transition over to the new GFS, so we still have to watch out for that. But definitely thank you for reminding me for that person in the comments, and that's definitely very, very helpful and interesting that they did do that. I knew they were going to switch it, but I didn't know exactly when, so thank you for updating me, the person who did that in the comments. So this would be by Wednesday in the afternoon. Tomorrow afternoon we're dealing with a general area of low pressure over parts of Texas, mainly over central Texas, sort of over this area. That's going to be heading further to the north and to the east. We have this big storm that's coming out of the Great Lakes, and that's also going to be heading to the north. And on the backside, look at all this blue back through here. This is indicating where you have that cold air, and that cold air is going to press into the central part of the country. So as you're getting cold air to press into the central part of the country, and as you're also getting warm air flowing up from the Gulf of Mexico, somewhere over here you're going to get an area of low pressure, which is going to be generally over this area, and also where that does mix up, generally to the south and east of there, is where you're going to be dealing with the main area of severe weather, which in this case is going to be for areas that are right in through here. So that's generally how the system is going to play out. Then of course the system is going to move up and out into the northeast, and that's how they'll get their severe weather. But that's generally a breakdown of what we're seeing with this event, and now we can actually play this out and see what the regional Canadian model is going to show. So this would be early on Thursday through the morning hours on Thursday. We're dealing with scattered thunderstorms back through the Tennessee Valley. Some could definitely be intense. We do want to watch out, again, with these individual supercells, kind of like this, these individual thunderstorms. We want to watch out for the threat of maybe some isolated tornadoes, because usually, again, in a line of storms, you typically don't see too many thunderstorms, but as you get kind of those little dots of heavy rainfall, you can get some spin-ups and tornadoes within that area. So we do want to watch out for that. Those isolated thunderstorms can be a lot more damaging than even a line of thunderstorms, depending on which area it actually does move through. Here to be by Thursday in the early afternoon, and we're still dealing with heavy rainfall and a lot of severe weather back through Mississippi, Arkansas, and Louisiana. And that's generally over the same area that they have that enhanced risk over. You can see the thunderstorms are really blowing up, and we've seen many model indications, especially on the GFS, the RGEM, and even the NAM models now starting to pick up on this, that we're going to see some sort of heavy outbreak of severe weather over central Tennessee, northern Alabama, and maybe even into southeastern Kentucky. I would say generally over this area right here, and we do want to watch out for that, because if this does happen, and I think it won't be as robust as this, but definitely we're going to see some severe weather over those areas. If that does happen, then we really want to watch out, because that could be a big event, and unfortunately it could cause some damage if exactly what's happening on the screen does play out. Now, of course, it's not going to be exactly like this. The placement is going to be a little bit different. How it sets up is going to be different, but general idea is what we're getting from this model. And then here would be by Friday early in the morning. Here would be in the later morning. So this would be by 7 to 8 in the morning, Central and Eastern time. We're looking at heavy rainfall over parts of the Ohio Valley, and then more steady rainfall as you head into the northeast. You're dealing with little pockets of heavier rainfall that you can kind of see in the yellows, but definitely nothing too strong. And that's why I think they're only going to upgrade that maybe to a marginal risk in those areas, because we don't really have enough humidity and warm air to push through there. We have dew points that are going to be in the mid-50s, which really isn't too supportive of severe weather. Everything else I think is prime for severe weather except for those dew points. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on in the video. So By Friday, in the early afternoon, we're dealing with that low pressure heading up into upstate New York, even to the west of the low pressure, as we're getting a lot more divergence, which you can see right here, where you get a little bit of a curve in the isobars. That's where the energy is being released, and over that area is where you're going to be dealing with the most severe weather. So over this area is where the RGEM model is placing the severe weather. Many models actually have that further to the south and east of the storm. So we're definitely going to watch out for that. This is one of the areas of the storm that we have a lot of uncertainty with, and that we still need to get a little bit more clarity on. And then here would be by Friday night. This is the last frame of the model, but you can see that that low pressure moves from here and starts to head further to the east, and it moves into Massachusetts and New Hampshire, and you're actually dealing with a little bit of severe weather back through over some of those areas in central New England. We're going to have to watch out for that, and again, we could see maybe some pop-up thunderstorms with the low pressure passing. The northeast sector of this storm is still really uncertain, and we want to get a lot more clarity on it, like I've said before. So I'm definitely going to keep on watching the models, because there is a lot that can still change even over the next couple of days, even though we're only about 2 to 3 days away from the severe weather event. So here's the CAPE, which is the convective available potential energy, basically just showing you how much energy is available to the atmosphere. We have a lot of energy back down through parts of the Gulf states, so we definitely have ample energy through there, and we're going to see that start to rise, and you can't see it on this frame, and just because it's kind of cut off, but you do have that low pressure back through parts of Oklahoma and Texas, and because of that, you're getting this spin coming out of the Gulf states, kind of like this, that's going into the system and flowing in through parts of the low pressure system in Oklahoma, Arkansas, and that's generally where the low pressure is situated by that point, and that's just going to be pulling up a lot of moisture from the southern United States, pulling that to the north, and that's typically how most severe weather events actually do occur. So this would be by Thursday night. And we're dealing with a lot of energy for this time of year, and over some of these areas it's actually relatively high. I would say you really only need 400 to 500 CAPE to get a decent thunderstorm. You can get maybe a little bit of thunder and lightning with just a couple hundred CAPE, maybe 100 to 350, but you really want to be above there to get anything significant. And you can see that where the significant storms are expected to happen, we have well over 400 to 500 CAPE, even up to 1,000 in some of those areas. And then this would be by Friday morning, and we're dealing with still that low pressure up through parts of northern Pennsylvania, western New York. We're dealing with a somewhat discombobulated system where we have kind of that southern piece of energy back down to the south, but that's not really mixing with the northern piece of this energy. So we have this storm right here, and it's trying to pull up as much energy as it can, but it's really failing at that attempt, mainly because it's so far to the north from where the main energy source. As we go through summer, you'll have a lot more energy that's actually situated instead of the Gulf of Mexico up through parts of the mid-Atlantic, and then that can pull up into the northeast. We don't have that just yet, just because of the seasons and the fact that we're still in March. So once we get probably into May, I would say that's when you're going to start to get a lot more severe weather over parts of the northern United States. Right now it's going to be confined mostly to the southern United States. And then you can see that by Friday night, it's heading out into parts of New England. So here's what the high temperatures are going to look like, because we definitely have enough warm air. This is going to be one of the facets of this system that is definitely checked off, and we definitely have enough of it. We have very warm temperatures. This would be for tomorrow, and we have temperatures that are going to be in the mid-70s all the way through parts of the Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley, the south central and southeastern United States as well. A little bit of a cutout over parts of the northeast and also back through the plains, where we also don't have enough warm air, but that's mainly what's actually going to drive this. You can see all the cold air that's spread over parts of the northern and western United States, and then all the warm air that's spread over parts of the eastern United States and the southern United States. So that clash is where you're going to actually end up having the severe weather take place. So this would be by Thursday. You can see that that system is generally by this point, I would say it's somewhere near the Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Kansas border area, right through here. So it's pulling in that cold air on the northern side. It's bringing in that warmer air on the eastern side of this. And in the meantime, before the storms hit, you're going to have some some beautiful weather, especially up the East Coast, where we're going to have temperatures in the mid 70s. And even if you get back through the Ohio Valley, not as warm, but still in the upper 60s in some of those areas. And then for Friday, really heats up over parts of the East Coast. Anywhere east of the Appalachians is going to be in the mid and upper 70s, even a few 80s as you get further to the south. So very, very nice weather out ahead of the system. Now, unfortunately, it will be raining at the same time. If you live in the Northeast, at the same time that you're in the 70s and the 60s, it will be raining, so you won't really be able to enjoy it fully. But it's very warm nonetheless, so you can't really complain too much. And then here would be the dew points, and this is what's really lacking in my opinion, and that's why I don't think in the Northeast and Ohio Valley at least it's going to be some huge event. I think you'll see a couple thunderstorms definitely, but I don't think it's going to be any tornado outbreak or anything like that, just because we don't have ample enough moisture being pulled that far to the north just yet. So this would be by Wednesday, and a good benchmark would be that 60-degree line in dew points, and that's that yellow line. Once it transitions from blue to yellow and orange, that's where you're above a 60-degree dew point. That's typically what you would want. You can still get some severe weather if you're in the mid-50s, so right around 55 degrees would be the threshold for a weak thunderstorm, but mainly in parts of the Ohio Valley and the Northeast, you can see that the dew points on this would be by Thursday in the early afternoon. We have dew points that are still in the mid-50s, so definitely not above that 60-degree threshold that I like to use. And here to be for Friday, and you can see here's your 60-degree dew point threshold, and it's from central New Jersey southward. Anywhere north of there is below that threshold in the mid-50s for dew points, and that's really not the worst thing in the world. You can still get severe weather with that, but it's definitely not ideal. And if you want some severe weather, you would definitely want to be in the mid-60s, I would say, for a decent and good severe weather event. Here's the rainfall totals from this. In the greens, we're looking at a tenth of an inch to half an inch to 1 inch in the blues, 1 to 2 inches in the yellows, 2 to 3 inches in the orange, 3+ inches in the reds. So you can see that mainly spread over parts of the southeastern United States, even a little stripe back through parts of Missouri, Illinois, and back through a little bit of Oklahoma and Texas as well. So you can see where the main bullseye is going to be over the next about 4 days for rainfall. And if you live in the southeast, especially closer to the Atlantic Ocean, you're really in a little bit of a bubble of high pressure where you're not going to be dealing with a lot of precipitation. Just enjoy the nice weather if you live throughout the mid-Atlantic and the southeast over the next few days. It's going to be lovely weather with the very, very warm temperatures that are headed your way. And here are your max wind gusts. This is not going to be so pleasant, even for areas in the southeast that aren't getting so much rainfall. You'll still get hit with some of the winds, but it's mainly back through parts of the Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley, and into the Northeast where the winds really pick up. That's one of the reasons why we have that wind advisory up for parts of the Mississippi River Valley. And look at some of these wind speeds and wind gusts. This is through Saturday morning, the maximum wind gusts in knots. So you want to add about 10 to that, and that's generally an easy conversion to miles per hour. So we're looking at in miles per hour, 40 to 50, even 60, 70 miles per hour wind gusts, especially in those isolated thunderstorms over some of these areas. Definitely you want to tie down some furniture, loose furniture that's going to be outside. That could definitely be a good way to prevent anything getting thrown away from the wind and getting blown away. So you definitely want to watch out for that, tie down any loose furniture that will be outside. That is going to wrap it up for today's video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.